Hello and welcome back everyone to Master Game Design, Unreal Engine 5 Stylized Environment and third-person blueprint course. In the last lesson, we pretty much finished off the material for the landscape, and now we're going to continue on working with it and actually make sure that we set it up nicely in regards to the shape itself. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to now go into the landscape mode and just play around with the overall sculpting. We're going to go on to the sculpt tool for starters, and I think what we can do is, well, let's go on to the layer. We're going to just get some corners over here for the sand. I'm just going to use a simple sculpt brush and just push it upwards. Alternatively, what we can do is, I tend to also do it this kind of way, is where to get a flatten tool. I could select an area over here with the pipette, so it wouldn't be quite all the way up. And now we can just bring this area up so it would never basically be touching the top section, but at the same time we can create this kind of landslides like in this area over here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and click Ctrl Z real quick, make this a little bit smaller so I could just have more control over here. And this way we can just make it look like some certain dunes on the side, a little bit of the sand, which I think looks quite nice in these areas over here. We might need to, this one I'm not quite sure. I'm going to click Ctrl Z. I think that's quite all right. We might need to go with a smoothing tool and just kind of lower down the amount that this area has. This area is not looking like it's getting quite as well, so I'm just going to take off the detail from here completely, and maybe some over here as well. But all in all, I'm not going to spend too much time in regards to this section over like so. Since now what I'd like to do is, actually I'll just go ahead and add a bit of an extra over here, maybe some like so. Now that we're done with this, we're going to go ahead and worry about the area in the back. We're going to do more or less the same part what I just did in regards to the sections over on the edges. I'm going to start off with a sculpt brush, grab a little bit of a larger area. Actually, I'll just start with an area that's the same size as here. I'm going to start with just using this section like so, and just kind of grabbing a nicer exit section over here, just like that. And then afterwards, I will start by just increasing the brush and just going over it this kind of a size. I'm not going to go too far because now I need to go into even a bit of a higher type of a setup. I'm just going to bring this upwards a little bit again. If you're not sure about the scale, you can grab a human reference. Personally, though, I don't really need to use it at the moment, so I'm just going to go ahead and now use this amount. Going to just go into flatten tool, select the pet, select this area over here, and just kind of work with this kind of a section, grabbing a certain type of a look. What we're trying to do basically is we're trying to get a certain height variation. We're not looking at the detail at the moment. We're just making sure that there is enough in regards to the height. And I might even create a bit of an extra height over here as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to do it a little bit like so. Use the flatten tool with the pipette and just kind of flatten it out like so. And then afterwards, once we get like ourselves the main height variations, what we can do is just simply go between them and just smoothing it out. Make sure we set it up nicely over here, just like that. And something like this is going to be quite all right. We might need to go into the smoothing brush itself, set it up to 100 and just kind of moving out certain parts. Actually, that's a little bit too much. I'm going to go back to 0.6 and just kind of tap it real quick. Make sure we remove all the unnecessary detail. The reason being is because in the next part, we're going to add some noise ourselves. So let's go ahead and just simply tap it over, just like that. All right, this looks quite okay. Although this area over here needs some bit of an extra work, I'm going to go ahead and just grab it like so, and just build some dunes over like so. This area perhaps over here as well. And then go back to smooth, just kind of playing around with the settings. Something low amount like this is going to look quite nice. I'm going to click 1 just to see how it looks like. So perhaps this section is not going to be quite visible, but if I were to click 2, it's going to look a little bit different. So what I'm going to do now is, in regards to the sculpting, I'm going to go ahead and make use out of the texture sculpt. So for that, we're going to use a brush Within the sculpting mode, we're going to use a brush that's going to be for alpha. And I'm just wondering which one is better. We have two types. We basically have alpha brush and we have pattern brush, which would tile the same type of an alpha. I personally prefer to use alpha brush as it allows us to just customly change it around, as you can see over here. Basically, it moves our alpha based on the position of our brush. The other one would just completely overlap it like so, which is kind of interesting in its own way, but it doesn't give you as much control. Personally, I don't find it quite as nice using instead of this one over here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go on to the resource pack and find myself a sand dune height map. I'm going to import it into landscape folder, and I'm going to go ahead and just put it in the landscape material folder over here. So what we need to do is just basically we need to drag and hold it and then drop it into this area over here. You'll see that it basically imports a texture. Afterwards, we're going to drag this and drop it into the texture section over in the brush settings over here, making sure that it's still selected with the sculpt brush. And then by clicking and holding, you can see that it creates a certain noise. So this one is really nice for creating a bit of a noise in this section. What I prefer to also do is I just like to set it up as a different layer when I'm creating this sort of a noise. So what I mean by that is if we were to go actually lower over here, we have edit layers. If we were to create a new layer like so, we can just double click on it and rename it. We can call this one noise. And now by using this layer, we can simply apply a sort of a noise all the way around, and just quick taps like so is going to be quite all right. And I'm not going to worry too much in regards to this section, making sure that the city itself is not going to have that kind of a noise like so. Actually, I'm not too worried about that, and I'll show you the reason why in a bit. Just adding this kind of a noise throughout the sections like so, just like that, and maybe some over here. If we click and hold, we are going to get more of a noise in certain areas, which might be quite useful if we want to make it more mountainy looking and whatnot. But all in all, that's what we're going to get basically. Now, the nicest thing about using noise like that is if we were to change this to a value of 0.5, it will basically decrease the intensity, making it look much smoother. So that's quite nice. I'm going to change it back to 1 and just add some noise over here as well. Just like that. Maybe I'll add some bit of an extra in regards to this whole setup as well. I'll just go back to normal brush and make it a bit of an extra mountain over here. And this is a little bit too much with the fall off, so I'm going to increase the fall off by quite a bit and just make it a little bit more smoother, just like that. We would have a nice type of a hill section over here. Maybe I'll actually flatten it a little bit, like so. There you go. This looks much better overall, like a nice sand dune. And actually this one was meant to be going within the noise itself. And when we were going with the heights, we should have went back to the layer setup, but all is all right. I'm going to leave it as is for now. Going back to what I was talking about in regards to the city, some of the areas might have some of that noise, unnecessary noise. This is where the erase tool will come in. And by selecting it, we're able to basically erase any unnecessary noise that we have over here. So for example, here by the entrance, we can click and hold, and then it's just going to start erasing that kind of a noise, making it much smoother, which is quite nice. Essentially, it just removes all that noise that we built it up onto this layer. So that's quite nice. I'm just going to go check around real quick if there's nothing unnecessary that I did, which looks all right. I think this looks quite all right. I'd prefer to maybe have a bit more of a type of a hill over here or something of the sort. Still trying to think if that's necessary or not. Maybe I'll just go ahead and break this up a little bit in regards to the shape. Going to select the previous layer, going to go to the flatten tool, and I'm just going to break this shape a little bit like so. Actually, I'll need to lower this down a little bit even more. Going to select the pipette, going to select it like so at this kind of height, and just kind of bringing it down just like that. just like that. And now we can click 1 and see how this looks like, and kind of like these type of areas over here much nicer, except for this section over here. And I wasn't sure what's going on with that. I think it's based on the height, on the, yeah, if I were to zoom in, it changes the tessellation. So that looks a little bit bizarre. But if we zoom out, it actually looks quite all right. So I think I'm going to leave it as is. I might break up this shape a little bit as well, just to kind of help us get a nicer type of a look over here. There you go, much nicer overall. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the setup, the landscape type of forming. It can only go up and down in this regard, so it's perfect for sand shaping and whatnot. And yeah, I might lower this down a little bit in this area over here. I'm going to go back to the sculpt real quick, moving that out, and this is going to be actually another layer, so noise layer. I'm just going to just smooth in some of those hills, those bumps a little bit in this section a little bit, just like that. And maybe some parts on the top over here. Don't quite like them as much. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the result. So yeah, in the next lesson, we're going to continue on moving with the foliage setup this time. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be